What would happen if the mining stocks if we went on gold standard? I don't see how they wouldn't go up. Well, let's just for a moment, Brian, let's focus on the price of gold. In order to have let's just look at M2 right now is I guess you wouldn't really have to back M2. It really depends on what the gold standard looks like. I mean, is this something where obviously the banknotes would be redeemable for gold, but is the ratio base or broad? And I think the last gold standard we had or quasi gold standard in the 1900s, that ended in 71 technically. I think that was based on base, right? Like they had a 40%. I'd have to research that, but I think what they did is they basically had like you're backing base money with a percent or a percentage of base money is backed by gold, and then that's a fixed rate. So you can't. So if you're going to have base money uh, backed by, let's say, 50% gold, then you'd have to say, okay, you do a calculation there, and that's going to give you the price of gold based on where you need the base money to be. Now, if you're doing it on broad money, see, that's where I mean, what you do is take M2 and then say, okay, what does the gold price need to be for gold to back, let's say, 50% of M2? And that's going to give you a number that's a hell of a lot higher than $2,000 an ounce. I'll tell you that. But I don't know how that would work. I don't know how that would I don't know how you'd enforce that. I see. How do you prevent the banks in aggregate total from creating more currency units than the gold that's held by the Federal Reserve? I don't know. I don't know that you could. I think what you do there is you just say, okay, we've got gold that's going to back base money, and then we're going to have a reserve requirement for the banks at, let's say, 10%. And we'll just assume that they're going to abide by those rules. But I mean, what we've seen in the past with the Eurodollar market, they didn't, banks just completely ignore whatever the Fed is doing or the regulators. I mean, think about the fact that we had a gold standard from 1950 to 1971, and look at what we had with the Eurodollar market. The Eurodollar market wasn't backed by reserves, definitely wasn't backed by gold. That's for sure. It wasn't even backed by green pieces of paper. It was cashless, reserveless, and they just created limitless amounts of dollars. So, getting back to your specific question, I'm not sure how it would really work. I'd have to really think through the mechanics based on the current system and what would be a realistic transition. But my initial assumption would be a high probability of the price of gold being a lot higher in terms of dollars. And therefore, that would give a tailwind to the gold miners. Now, does that mean they go? I don't know. I mean, what are their costs doing? You would assume their costs aren't going up as much, but who knows what the world looks like. But that would, in my opinion, that would give a huge tailwind to the price of gold.